Good afternoon, everyone. At least it's afternoon for Jim. 2:45 in the afternoon here. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you guys have had a good Sunday or are preparing to have a good Sunday. Always is fun trying to greet people here on the interwebs because you're spread all over the world. So I don't know whether to tell you good morning, good afternoon, or good night, or wish you a good day tomorrow when you wake up, maybe. Anyway, Jim has had a rather productive week. His sunflowers are sunflowering. He showed a video earlier of one that had wilted leaves, and Jim really thought it had died, and he just threw it over. Well, didn't throw it over. He did transplant it over into the dirt out of a pot to see how it would do, and it still looks wilted and drooping, but it has created a bloom, a full-on bloom with a seed head in the middle and yellow flowers around it. Jim's sunflowers are all doing pretty well. His marigolds, a couple of those that he transplanted from boxes and stores, are doing well. His ones he planted from seed, they are green and growing, but so far have not bloomed. So if anyone has any suggestions on how to get my marigolds to actually bloom, Jim would certainly appreciate that. He has some peppers and some dill that are doing good. He does have green tomatoes on his Romas, and on his heirlooms he has some yellow flowers, but so far nothing's really come on other than the flowers. Jim has tried some different things, cutting suckers, cutting lower branches. I don't know if you call them branches on a tomato plant, but anyway, you guys know what I mean. So he's looking forward to see how those go. Have had enough rain last probably week and a half. Before that, as Jim had shared with you on a video on the page. Just a moment. Alexa, stop. We have had some drought conditions. Alexa's telling me that I have some chicken thighs that need to come out of the oven. They'll last another couple of minutes while I talk to you guys, I think. But yeah, so we're finally starting to get enough rain. Jim has put a water, I guess you'd call it a fountain, shoots water up out of the bird bath. Jim had read somewhere that is supposed to attract the birds better because it's the sound of running water. I do know the squirrels drink out of it, and I do know that the squirrels do bathe in the bird bath. The birds have still been a little skittish when I come around. They still will come up close to me to grab the peanuts and the sunflower seeds that I throw on the ground. Cardinals, mourning doves, some red-winged blackbirds. I have, I believe, a juvenile cardinal. It's colored like a female, but it's sort of ragged looking. Is why I'm thinking it's a juvenile. I've taken some pictures of it and hope to maybe get some other people's input on what that might be. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, mourning doves come around. It's interesting watching them because they are ground feeders. They do not like the feeders or the platforms. But if you throw some seed out in the yard, just broadcast throw it out, they will flock to it like crazy. Of course, I do have some grackles that like to come around. We try to keep those chased off. I know it's sounds mean if you're going to throw out food that you don't let all the birds eat, but the grackles have a habit of eating all the food and just overwhelming numbers chase all the other birds off. So we're not real happy to see them come around. I mean, we're not going to shoot at them or anything like that, but again, just not real happy sometimes having them come around. The squirrels seem to be getting along with the birds a little bit better. They will eat in the same patch of grass now. There for a while, the birds would land. The squirrel would look at them and the bird would take back off, but they're getting along a little bit better. Everyone's getting along a little bit better with Jim. Jim is Tries to wear the same clothes every morning when he goes out at sunrise. Well, actually, about an hour before sunrise. Sits in the same place, sets the camera in the same place, and tries to become as much of a regular feature to the birds and squirrels as he can. And I do know that some mornings when I go out, if I'm going out a little late, there's a particular male cardinal and a couple of squirrels that will be out there waiting for me. The cardinal will get in the bird bath that we use as a flower pot, and he will chirp at me through the window until I finally come and throw either some peanuts or sunflower seeds on the ground. I do use out-of-shell peanuts, just easier to clean up after them. I use in-shell sunflower seeds because buying sunflower seed kernels is ridiculously expensive, and I don't mind raking up or sweeping up a few of those seeds. Threw out some walnuts a couple of weeks ago. Somebody gave me some walnuts they didn't want. They were still in their shells, so I took a hammer to them and cracked them in at least 2 pieces and then tossed them out. And the squirrels would grab them and run off with them. And the other birds, other animals, Jim noticed they would come along and pick the seeds out of them. And probably not the best idea I'd had because, yes, that was a mess to clean up as they left the holes all behind. Interesting thing about walnuts and squirrels, Jim is impressed with the intelligence of squirrels. There is a few walnut trees next to our church, and there's an alleyway that runs between those trees and the church. And the squirrels there in the neighborhood have learned to carry the walnuts up to the top of that tree and throw them down. Now, a lot of times they will hit the alleyway. There are other times that they hit the roof of the church. And so as a walnut hits the roof of the church on a non-cloudy, non-windy, non-rainy day, you sort of start to wonder what just hit the roof. You think, well, that wasn't hail or rain. And so Jim went out and looked one time, and he noticed that the squirrels were picking up the walnuts off the ground, carrying them up to the top of the tree, and throwing them down at the concrete. He thought that was a pretty ingenious idea. Jim tries, as I think all of us should, not to trust everything we read on the internet. I do watch some videos, and for birds, I try to stick to Cornell, maybe it's Department of Ornithology, or anyway, it's their bird department. They have a couple of good apps that I use, and also just, some good resources. For vegetable gardening and stuff, I live in Kentucky, so I use the University of Kentucky Extension Office, and overseas, I don't know what maybe the equivalencies of those would be, but here locally, each state university has an extension office, which through the years has been used to print agricultural information, print how to garden, how to sow. Was a resource sort of for home economics and farming, gardening, and such that was funded through the state universities. So every state university, which my understanding is that each state has one university that is designated as its state university. You may have several universities in your state, but only one of them is the state university. So even though you have University of Texas, Texas A&M, Southern Methodist, and all of those universities in Texas, only one of those would be the state university. Yeah, don't ask Jim which one it is because he doesn't know about Texas. Here in Kentucky, of course, we have University of Louisville, which is a private city college in Louisville, Kentucky. We have Northern Kentucky University, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. I don't know where Southern Kentucky University disappeared to, but there is not one of those. We have Kentucky State there in the capital in Frankfort. But again, the University of Kentucky is a designated state university. So now that you know absolutely more than you ever wanted to know about state universities in America, we'll continue on to something else. And Jim thinks there's something else he'll continue on to is go get those chicken thighs and pull them out of the stove real quick. You guys stick around. Jim will be right back, but he's going to put you guys to sleep for a little bit. Well, he says he is. Jim sometimes is not functional in putting a lens cap on a camera. Jim also doesn't want you to watch this because sometimes Jim does stupid stuff like forget to put hand mats on his hands before he grabs hot stuff out of the stove. Oh man, those are looking good. Like they got a nice crispy skin on them. Give Jim just a second to stick a thermometer in them. Here in America, they tell us to cook our chicken thighs to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that might be for you guys overseas. There's a particular cooking show I watch called, well, I don't know what it's called, but the chef on the show is Alton Brown. And I think it's interesting. He always talks about recipes and says that people always ask him, how long should I cook a particular item? And he says, I don't give you a time to cook it. I tell you to cook it to doneness. So for chicken thighs, that's 165 degrees. For other things, it might be 155, 145. And so it takes different amounts of time, depending upon your oven, your cooking method, and all to get it to that doneness temperature. Oh, let's see. Jim had a tooth extracted this week. I'm sure that was top on your list of things you were wondering. Jim has a few teeth that have been extracted. I'm sure, as you notice when I'm talking, two front teeth. Was interesting. I had braces when I was younger, and those two front teeth overlapped even after the braces. And okay, Jim's going to admit it. He didn't wear his retainer like he should have, and wear his mouthpieces as he was recovering from having braces. And so one day Jim woke up and these two teeth were next to each other like they're supposed to be. So Jim goes, that's interesting. That let him know that there was some looseness somewhere in the gum. And over the course of probably the next 3 or 4 months, those teeth decided they would self-extract. And by self-extract, I mean one day I was talking, and one of the teeth decided it would stick to my dry tongue and pull out of its socket. And the other one, I woke up one morning with it lying in my mouth. Luckily, I had not swallowed it. But so yeah, those two self-extracted. I've had some others that have had to be extracted by dentist. But Jim is told that has something to do with his diabetes. Actually, diabetes is sort of insidious. It seems like any ailment you have is related to your diabetes. Now, I don't know if that's just a cop-out for doctors or what the deal is, but, you know, I have high blood pressure. It's your diabetes. You know, I have cardiac problems. It's your diabetes. Don't have nearly as many cardiac problems as I did. Jim has shared with you the story before, how he had all 5 of his arteries bypassed. That was an adventure. Well, I say it was an adventure. For me, it really wasn't an adventure. I was asleep those 12 hours. I'm sure it was an adventure for the surgical team. For those of you who are squeamish, you might not want to listen to this next part, but Jim will share with you how they do open heart surgeries. Basically, they knock you out, and then they crack your ribs open, and they pull your heart out and sit it on a little stainless steel table next to you. And then they hook you up to a machine that keeps blood circulating through your body, since your heart's not doing that. Most times, my understanding is there is a vein that runs from your kneecap down to around your ankle called a saphenous vein. They will harvest that vein and cut it up into smaller pieces to do the bypass around your arteries in your heart that are clogged up. And so they used a lot of that vein because, like I said, all 5 of my arteries were clogged up. My cardiologist looked at me and she said, Mr. Williamson, you had to be feeling symptoms. What was going on here? And I said, Doc, I'm in my 50s, about 55, 60 pounds overweight. I get out of breath walking up steps. I thought that was part of getting old and being fat. I didn't realize it was, symptoms of something greater. So anyway, if you get tired going up steps, you might want to go see your cardiologist or at least your primary care provider or, general practitioner and have them check you out and tell you if they think it's anything other than, just your overweight and old. Or you might just be overweight and young or just, I don't know, out of shape. So, yeah, that was exciting for Jim this week, having an extraction done. I'm trying to think. Oh, another thing that Jim suffers from that, again, I'm told is diabetic related, is lymphatic edema, which is a big words for saying Jim's legs swell. The circulatory system in his legs does not work the way it's supposed to, so there's an excess of lymphatic, I don't know if I'm using the right words here, lymphatic fluid that builds up because the circulatory system can't go grab it and, flush it out of my system, so it just pools in my legs. We're treating that by having Jim elevate his legs every night. Also, there's a pump that squeezes his legs for him to try to get that fluid to flow through his body. Some compression socks, which are torture devices, in my opinion. They're made to be very tight and to squeeze your leg. The only problem with being very tight and squeezing your leg is you're supposed to somehow pull a sock that is about, I would guess, 2 or 3 sizes too small for your leg, but you're supposed to somehow pull it up on your leg. Like Jim said, he's a little overweight, so there is a collection of mass at the middle of his body that sometimes makes bending over difficult to do. So that can be fun trying to pull that sock on. Jim told you he's getting rain, told you the birds and the squirrels are starting to like him a little bit better. Been to the farmer's market the last 2 Saturday, my bad. Got pretty good hauls both times. Was happy with the quality of the stuff. I'm going to have to start getting more because usually I bring it home, start slicing it up and cooking it, and then by the time Monday rolls around, I go, I used to have vegetables here. So trying to expand what I buy there and maybe cut back on my serving sizes so I get it to last a little longer. I don't know how farmers markets work in your state, city, neck of the woods, nation, whatever. Ours sort of tickles me. It is a farmer's market. So you have probably some, what I would actually call family farmers, small, farms. But then I also notice there are some corporate farms that are there selling stuff. I'm always told that corporate farms are also family farms because, it's a family running it. And now if the farm is called Grant Farms or Joe's Brothers Farms or something like that, I believe that. I know a lot of corporate farms are run by Conagra and bigger companies like that. So, not all corporate farms are family farms. But anyway, and the other thing that confuses Jim sometimes is there'll be jewelry and different things sold there. And I think part of the reason they do that is the farmers market tries to promote things made in Kentucky, or at least our particular one does. And so, we have some kind of state program. There's logos and labeling and paperwork you have to fill out, and you can be certified as proudly made in Kentucky. And so that's maybe where the jewelry and different things come in. I know there's a couple of confectionery shops and stuff. And in case Jim's endocrinologist or anyone that works in that office is listening, Jim has never went to any of those confectionery booths. Never, ever. He's, doesn't eat fruit either because fruit's got sugar and it's horrible bad. No, don't do any of that. Also, I do not stop by the meat market that's there at the farmer's market and buy boneless chicken thighs that I may or may not have just told you I was pulling out of the oven. I roasted them in the oven, so that makes them healthy. I will take no argument on that. Anyway, if you guys have any suggestions on how to cook vegetables other than putting them in hot water and as soon as they soften up, throwing them over in some cold water, Jim would appreciate it. That's pretty much how he cooks his squash and his greens and his potatoes. Green beans, pretty much the same way. If I'm feeling really adventurous, sometimes I will throw some butter in the squash. Or I'll go buy some kind of seasoning at the store and just shake it over top of everything. No matter what the flavoring is, it flavors any vegetable. Jim is usually light on flavoring stuff and spicing stuff. I watch these cooking shows and the people are like, we're going to throw a handful of salt in and then some pepper and then some cumin and then some oregano and then some Mexican oregano and then some, Polynesian pollen flower, and all these different things. And Jim's like, I kind of like the taste of potatoes. I like to bake a potato and I'll maybe put some sour cream and butter on it, but I like a potato. I don't feel like a potato needs to, have hot sauce on it to be good. The other thing is Jim tries to watch his sodium intake because of his heart and blood pressure and all. And so I'll watch these cooking shows, and the first thing they do is, well, we're going to put some salt in this, and some more salt, and some more salt. Well, let's taste it. Oh, it needs more salt. Everybody knows that everything tastes better with salt. Now, Jim will admit that sometimes he'll slice his tomato up and sprinkle a little bit of salt over it, but mostly he would just eat the tomato slices as they are because Jim likes tomatoes. One thing Jim thinks more people should try is you can take a stick of Kerrygold butter to the field with you if you want to when you do this, but you don't have to. Jim thinks the best thing you can do is when you get sweet corn, you pick the ear, sit right there in the field and eat it. Don't bring it to the house. Don't put it in boiling water. Like I said, you might want to spread some, butter on it. But, and then now this is sweet corn. There's another kind of corn. It's called dent corn. You know it because it has a dent in the kernel. And it just stays out in the field till it gets really hard. And then we feed it to cattle here so that they'll get really fat so that we can fatten them up before we kill them. I don't know if that's the technical term for it. I think they like to say that they were grain finished, but basically we're giving them a lot of grain so they'll get fat and we can kill them. Not that Jim was opposed to that. He just thinks people should be aware of what's happening with their food. Jim really thinks everybody should go to a family, and when I say family, I mean small family farm. Watch a cow be slaughtered, watch a pig be slaughtered. If you're going to eat a pork chop, Jim thinks it's important you know where that pork chop came from. If you're going to eat a steak, I think it's important that you know where that steak came from. I think it's important that you know that there is an animal that, that was created from them. Whether it's chicken thighs, chicken, breast, or whatever it is. I just think it's important to understand that, and have that connection with your food. That's pretty much why I go to the farmer's market. Like I said, there's always corporate farms there, but usually if you find a smaller farmer, you can ask him, what green beans are these? What strain are they? How did you grow them? Do you use fertilizer? Do you not use fertilizer? A lot of people say, well, all you got to do is look and see if it's organic. And I don't know, again, how things are in the rest of the world, but the word organic is so watered down in America that, it's almost useless at times. I had one person arguing with me about organics one time. And of course, they were sitting there and they said, well, arsenic is organic, so, it should be healthy for you, right? And so Jim said, well, you're being a little bit disingenuous in your argument. While, yes, arsenic is organic, we both know that the word organic is meant to mean that it's raised with a lack of pesticides, with a lack of chemicals, and such as that. I guess I could say that a rock is organic and beat you over the head with it, and say, well, it should have been healthy for you. But I hate people that try to. I don't like to use the word argument, but try to use their debate and frame words in ways that they're not meant. Now, if I wanted to say argument, I would talk about how, for some reason, we are having I don't even know what the words stand for, or what the letters stand for. It's MMA, something martial arts. But anyway, UFC runs that in America, and I think they probably do some fights overseas. For some reason, we have decided to put up a Thunderdome on the White House lawn and have a UFC fight there for our president's 80th birthday. And I think it's best I just leave that at that. Anyway, so curious as to what organic gardening looks like in your neck of the woods. I know Europe has a lot of different food rules. I know there's things that are eaten every day in America that cannot be eaten in Europe, just because I don't know. European governments seem like they have less of a desire to poison their constituents. Also, I do know that the difference I think between food testing and drug testing and such in America and Europe, and I don't know about the rest of the world. In America, we just throw stuff out there on the market, and if it starts hurting people, then we decide, hey, maybe we ought to look at this and see if it's dangerous. Whereas in European markets, my understanding is that pretty much you prove that your product is not harmful before you start selling it. And if that is not how that works, somebody in Europe or somebody could please tell me if I'm completely off base on that. Let's see. I know Jim just, starts these things, doesn't tell you when he's going to start them or anything like that. So, sometimes there's nobody in the chat. Sometimes there's nobody that views them. Sometimes afterwards I'll get 3 or 4 people view it. But if you do view it, if you could just drop a comment, if you answer any of the questions I ask, it'd be appreciated. And I don't ask the questions necessarily solely for, farming purposes. What's the word? Engagement farming. If Jim was going to try to do engagement farming, he supposes, he would probably work harder on his content. Jim does hope you guys like his content. He's not, wanting to give you guys sloppy nothingness. But people start talking about scripts and, lighting effects and making stuff look cinematic. Jim's not going to lie to you right now. He is looking into a Sony ZV-1F, or maybe that's a ZV. I don't know. You Canadian folks say stuff weird. And he sets it to 4K and 24 frames per second. And he hits play or start, broadcast or whatever it is he hits. And that's how he records it. I guess in a perfect world, I would have 3 camera angles, an overhead camera, and I would have some nice orange and blue lights behind me. Again, Jim is going to let you guys go. Got somebody at the door. And so we will talk to you guys later. Thank you. Howdy, howdy.
Hello. So, try call. Oh.
Well, let's try this again.